everyone. I surely hope this is doing well for Stellar Blade sales because, good grief, is this game catching a copious amount of fly saliva. I want to preface this by saying I hope your day is going well, and if it is, you might want to skip this video, even though I'm going to have fun with it. It might tick you off. Second, the reason why I even opted to talk about stuff like this is because, honestly, I feel like I'm being underrepresented.
Are you cussing with me?
No, you cussing with me?
Don't cuss and point.
You're gonna cuss with somebody. You're not gonna cuss with me, you little cuss.
Me.
You see, the problem is a lot of studios, corporations, and very loud Twitter users are pretending as though they speak for the majority of us, and I honestly can't 100% speak for every woman, but I do know that I have my own voice. When someone takes it upon themselves to speak for me and lumps me in with this monolithic view as if we all share one brain or something, yeah, I gotta say something and assert my rights as a woman to make it crystal clear that I don't align with that narrative, and I refuse to be counted among this group that these loudmouths are claiming to represent. And the other reason is because it has become such a problem in entertainment that I think enough people are not speaking up about it. And since my channel is predominantly about entertainment and poking fun at things, this falls right within the category, so I apologize to those who initially joined my channel for one thing, only to watch it evolve into me criticizing or poking fun at the issues in entertainment. Oh wait, that's something I've been doing. Clearly, but it's okay to grow out of something if it doesn't suit your taste anymore. And that's completely fine. I think most people understand who have been with me for a while that I poke fun at things. I've always been super honest, and I started this back years ago. I thank you all for being with me as long as you have, and for at least hearing me out. I love you, and I wish you well, and you are welcome back anytime.
Nobody cares.
Oh, no.
Nobody cares.
But
nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
But he-
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Now, if you haven't watched my video on Stellar Blade, you might want to do that so you can catch up on what's been going on and what my opinion has been concerning gaming and how we women are represented and my thoughts on the matter. For those of you who don't feel like doing that, the cliff notes are that this game was being promoted called Stellar Blade. You can see the footage of it right now, and it looks like a generic fantasy sci-fi adventure game to me. Aesthetically, it reminds me of the Final Fantasy games, like the later one, but honestly, I thought it was an offshoot of that, and that was it. But certain people made a really big deal about it because of the main character, and certain Twitter users were basically calling the model a child, even though she's based on an actual adult woman, and went further by attacking people who found her attractive as needing their hard drives checked.
Like, are y'all okay? Or
Most of the people who talk like this are usually the ones that need their hard drives checked, and people could probably understand where they were coming from if they didn't have to go on the offense and outright attack an entire group of people that they don't know. It's not like this group of people are going in and attacking anyone by liking the character's aesthetic, but the group of people who these loudmouths are attacking, mainly gamers that find these characters attractive, are being demonized just for finding the character attractive or for praising her beauty, which is something women do all the time on social media to seek validation based on their looks or to appreciate the attention of people admiring their beauty. It's one of the most empowering things about women, to be honest, our beauty. Even though I personally don't like attention on me because I blush and get painfully shy, I do appreciate the compliment when someone tells me I'm beautiful. When they ask me out, I kindly say no thank you, and then I'm very flattered, and then I'm with someone, or even if I'm not with someone, I turn them down kindly. Most men respect that. Most men who've asked me out were gentlemen about it, and if I didn't take them up on their offer and turn them down respectfully, they excused themselves and apologized and told me that the other person was either lucky or that they understood. Most men did that. Now, I understand that's my experience, but given that I've been around a lot of people, including men, I think it's fair to say that most human beings aren't total degenerates, especially when it comes to social situations. There are outliers, of course, I understand, and I have dated some of them also and met some of them, but despite everything that has happened, most men are good people. We wouldn't have the society that we have now if they weren't. I feel like I need to say that because even as a woman, I've noticed, especially within the entertainment sphere, this vitriol towards men. And as a result, the vitriol that is aimed at men by other men and women has become so harsh that now there's a generation of young men growing up and pushing back and giving back that same energy, but then skewing all the way to the other side of it, which isn't helping anyone.
Yes, you can! Stop being a bitch! Because you're a bitch! You're sitting in this chest like, well, yeah, just network with millionaires. I don't know if we're gonna make it. Oh, now everyone's gonna become millionaire. You're a I'm like a fucking Saiyan. You hit me, I live through the battle, and I get stronger after the fact. So listen, because you have the fierce tenacity that no one can fucking...
Do you consider yourself an emotional male?
Not really. I would say I do a good job of, controlling.
That's part of the reason why I even want to talk about this stuff, because I can see what's happening. Imagine if you're a dude, you grow up from the age of 4, watching dudes being vilified for what they find attractive, or for having preferences, or for being a certain color, or just having a flesh banana. And you are told your entire life that you're a monster and treated as such. You're eventually going to fill that role and become the monster that they claim you are. I'm in no means saying that this is right, but if that's all they ever know, and that's the only experience they ever have with women, they're going to end up raising the next generation of men that hate women, and they're going to teach that hate to their kids. And we're going to have to go all the way back to the Stone Ages. I don't want that. And most women would agree with me that they don't want that either. That's why I talk about stuff like this, because see, you seem to think that most women feel this way. And honestly, it's a very privileged time to be a woman. You might wonder what this has to do with the topic at hand. And the truth is, it has a lot to do with it. Because some people don't know, or they just don't notice, even though it's kind of blatant. Most people are talking about it now, but that's only been recent, because if any dudes come out and try to criticize females, especially in the past, or things about that nature, they're dragged harshly across the internet, even if what they're saying is true. But if a female comes out and does exactly the same thing, she's praised for it. There are examples of this everywhere. Bad behavior is bad behavior, no matter if it's a dude or a woman. And if you're going to do something or hold someone accountable on one side of the aisle, you have to do it for the other side as well. Well, all of this animosity and divisive rhetoric has spilled over into the gaming sphere. I thought that was the one place we could get away from all of that. The last bastions of entertainment, peace, with anime, for the most part, and gaming, but now in gaming, it's flooded with that same divisive rhetoric. In my last video, I mentioned that even as a straight woman, I have no problem seeing regular women dressed in attractive clothing in my video games with jiggle physics, and I absolutely enjoy that, to be honest. And I remember I played this game called Dead or Alive. It was like, he had it in his collection on like an older console, and I enjoyed playing the women because they look so much prettier to fight as an avatar. You could really feel the hits in that game too. That was freaking amazing. As I've said countless times before, I wouldn't dress in public in some of those outfits, but it's nice to play a character that can. Even though ideally, if she's fighting in a bikini, her hairless puppies would flop out and it would be very painful, trust me. So anyway, fast forward to the aftermath of an IGN article that was published where the writer basically implies that people who are attracted to Eve, the main character from Stellar Blade, were somehow ultra perverted fish sniffers. People got upset about that because you're disparaging people for operating on their basic instinct, which is to find pretty things attractive and compliment those things. They also got upset, understandably, because someone was trying to make a case for making ugly characters or being against having a very pretty or sexualized pixelated character that you're going to spend most of the game playing as. So IGN apologized, apparently here, and took that post down or edited it, and I think they only did that because they were getting backlash, because you cannot tell me that you have people working for your company and you do not proofread or look over an article that they're going to post before they post it, which is going to have your company logo and name tied to it, you know? Your reputation? So it's sad. Recently, IGN France produced and published a preview of Stellar Blade containing an offensive passage that should never have been kept. The text has now been edited, and here is our official apology to the Shift Up Corporation studio staff. Also, please note that IGN France is an independent branch of IGN and that IGN's editorial staff had nothing to do with this incident. Or like throwing them under the bus. The original text of the Stellar Blade preview contained comments that were out of place. While it was never our intention to disrespect Shift Up or any of its employees or their work, we recognize that the phrase taken in its literal sense was inappropriate and we regret it. To anyone at Shift Up Corporation who felt personally targeted and insulted by this passage, we are truly sorry and sincerely apologize. So that was all said and done, and despite the fact that they only did so when they got backlash and they didn't have the integrity enough to do it beforehand, the point is that they did it and they understood their customers and fixed the problem. Until this started floating around. Now, this whole thing was originally in French, but I got it translated, and this guy who made the post is called Erwin Le Fleuriel. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it. Le Fleuriel. Sounds like flower. Anyway, what's interesting about this is that this guy is actually the editor-in-chief for IGN France, which is basically the branch of IGN who posted the original offensive article. And I'm kind of embarrassed for this person, to be honest, because he honestly has no shame or the capability to be embarrassed himself himself, so I'm embarrassed for him. But instead of just sitting here and merely poking fun at how ridiculous this is, I think it's more constructive to pick apart what he said, providing that he is actually the one who made that comment and it's not someone pretending to be him, trying to give him an out here, but just saying, we've got a hint of skepticism with everything on the internet, but explain why it's a problem. Now, I could be wrong, and this is still just my opinion, but I think it's important that we learn to talk with each other about things again, like discuss things, debate with each other, because online, nobody knows how to talk to each other anymore, and we're never gonna solve problems or reach a middle ground if we're not allowed to just address these things. So let's start. So he's answering a post, the top one up here, that says, it's a shame that women also like the character design. Oh, it's a shame that women also like the character design. Guys who are afraid of hypersexualization as if it's dirty. Long live the Neo-Puritans. Now, I don't know if this person is quoting someone else. It doesn't seem to have quotes, but the only thing I disagree with in his original post is the hypersexualization. I don't necessarily have a problem with hyper spicy content. However, there is, I believe, a line that needs to be drawn. Society has reached a point where this spiciness infiltrates spaces it has no place being, such as little children's classrooms.
Some of those funny little dances from Fortnite. Does anybody know any of the dances from Fortnite? Oh, then you are a credit to your community. But most of all, Michael likes to twerk. Now, does anybody in this room know how to twerk? All right, well, it's quite important to the story, so I will just give you a very quick demonstration. All you need to do is you just stand with your feet sort of shoulder width apart, like so. Okay, and I'll show you at the side so you get a better view that way. And you crouch down into this sort of position here, so your bum's sticking out. Hope you're taking this all in. And then you just move your bum up and down like that, and that's twerking.
Now, sure, it has its origins for a time and place, but I think we can all agree that the modern sense of twerking is probably, no, 100% only suitable for adults.
Jesus Christ.
Damn. Am I straight? Case in point, not a thing that kids should be doing. It's a very sensual dance, at least especially now it is. Like, my face is all hot watching that right now. And for people to want to teach that to little kids so they can do that, for whom? Why? See what I'm saying? Time and place. And age. So yeah, I do believe there needs to be a cutoff point with hypersexualization. We don't want that stuff being taught to kids. Trust me, they'll figure it out. Even though it's very normal, I know, for them to do so. But do we really need to bombard 3 to 12-year-olds with it, given the serious issues that we're facing with teen pregnancies and the dangers of being preyed upon? You know, as I said, time and place. Time, meaning when they're older. And that time is definitely not childhood. And that place is definitely not in math class or their story reading time. And whoever is teaching them should definitely not be an older person. Most people should agree with that, or else you have a problem. I've been on Steam as well, where there are some games specifically tailored for that audience, and that's completely fine as well. You need to be 18 to have an account anyway, so if you're in there, it's because you're a kid who lied to your parents, and they don't know you're doing it, which is not Steam's fault, or your parent has allowed you to be in there probably not knowing all of what is in the catalog, or they understand and already gave you that talk, or they just don't give a damn what you do. Either way, not Steam's fault, but to pretend as though it's not built into humans to see attraction in everything is basically to deny people being human. I cannot stop thinking about that girl's ass, I swear to God. See, I am completely okay with jizzle. Forget it, whatever.
Are you finished?
I wish I had an ass. We're very sensual creatures, and we know that we are because we always flock to that. That's the reason why it sells, because it's built into us to want that or to see pretty things. I do agree that some aspects of society that hijack that part of our biology could be contributing to the downfall, especially coupled with the fact that many people aren't raised with integrity. But trust me, that has nothing to do with gamings or how a woman looks in a game. If someone is flocking to a certain content, and they only see that in it, and that's the only content they consume, then they already had that preference or issue before they got that content. An example of this is horses.
Get clear. You can write this down. I want to f a woman as a horse. None of this is a secret. To be clear, you know, Many jokes have been made about this, but I stand by it. My moral principles are rock solid. My feet are firmly planted in the ground. I've got my boots up. They're planted firmly. You cannot move me from my position. This isn't a secret. Let's talk to a therapist. Well, why do you want to be the horse, Vosh? Because then I'd have a giant dick. Okay, couldn't you have a big the other way? Well, yeah, I could. Like, yeah, I could have a big hypothetically in any variety of scenarios, but then it wouldn't really be a horse. Well, you could be a human with a horse. Yes, but then I wouldn't have that powerful stallion energy using it.
Ugh, I get it. That's his shtick, but I swear to God, he has ruined the word horse for me. I can't ever say that without thinking about that. I freaking hate him for that. I really do. But anyway, I love horses. God damn it. Not the way that he does. I swear this needs to be a disclaimer now because of him. Because I love horses so much, I'll play any game specifically if it has a horse in it. Especially if the horse animation and mechanics are done well, which is the other reason why I got Red Dead Redemption 2. Being a gamer, I am ashamed though to say that I, to this day of making this video, have never played any Zelda games. Yes, I understand. I know before you guys even write, you're gonna have your mouth swinging open like, I know. I've been through this with countless people and my friends are all angry at me because of it. I get it. But I bought Breath of the Wild specifically because of Epona and because the mechanics and the horse running animation were amazing. Still haven't played it because, you know, my husband promised that we played together and it's been years and I'm a loyal person. If I say I'm gonna wait for someone to do something with them, I will not do it to my own detriment, so here we are. That is to say, just because I'll buy a game just for the horse doesn't mean that's the reason why everybody else does. I already had a love for horses and horse content before buying that game. It doesn't mean that everybody who buys a game is buying it for that very reason. Not everyone who would play Stellar Blade or a game with a cute chick in it is necessarily gonna buy the game because of that reason and because they're thirsting over the female. While I admit in some cases it might help, it is, if it's generally a good game or it looks fun, I think a lot of people would buy the game because it looks fun. I mean, the character being cute does matter for me too, depending on the story. Yeah, I think it depends on the story as well, because there are games that had ugly main characters in it, like this game that my husband streamed one time, where you operated as this flesh thing. You could take control of this big mound of flesh and humans were joined together. I forgot what it's called, but it's really disgusting. But it was part of the storyline and so it fit. Oh, I just asked my husband. It's called Inside. So yeah, if it's the art style and you can understand why some characters are ugly and have this Tim Burton aesthetic. However, if you're playing as a human being or even another species, like the Turians in Mass Effect, you can still appreciate the beauty in this fantasy character. By the way, old Gary over here, definitely want to continue Mass Effect because I had a whole thing with him going. I definitely want to continue that. I can't wait. Your exoskeleton is mine, boy. I mean, Breath of the Wild, right? People who weren't even into Link or Zelda purchased those games because of the animation style, because it was beautiful. So much to the point where many games now are basically copying the art style of this. And all that to say, hypersensuality isn't always the reason why a bunch of people will flock towards the game. Not everybody that buys a game or even just comments on the beauty of the main character is hyper thirsty, jacking himself at the speed of light with his tongue hanging out, bearded dude with a big gut. Anyway, that's in response to the original post. And now, here comes Senor Editor-in-Chief in all his wisdom, responding in a totally overly emotional manner that is not befitting of his station. And it's very hard to look at a comment like this and not see projection, because I think most people would agree that when you read something like this, we're all going to come away asking the same question.
Who hurt you?
Or in this case, rather, who did you hurt? Because the vitriol that is seeping off of his comment is unreal. But let's pick it apart, as I've said, so that I can give my response to something like this being a woman myself. Sir Irwin starts by saying, for people who have small screens, yes, no problem. Okay, he's not British, but whatever. Yes, no problem. Go tell that to the women who were hit, killed, denigrated, or who committed suicide because they can't live up to the fictional standards expected by men. All right, first of all, the one thing I will say is that many women who feel that kind of pressure from these standards are not feeling that pressure from men. They're mostly feeling it from other women. Observing social groups and having been among women growing up, women are the ones who will tell other women that they're not pretty, or they'll pick them apart, like what they're wearing, how they wear their hair, how they did their makeup. Your breasts are too small, you have no ass. I know because it happened to me too. In school, I had girls literally say to me, oh my god, your body's so great, but you dress like a boy. You need to let me dress you because God. Like, some girl literally said that to me. She looked me up and down and grilled me. I will never forget it. And she wasn't doing it in a nice, hey, let me dress you up and give you my fashion kind of way. Like, I'm your friend. I didn't even know this girl. Or if I wore something that I considered nice, maybe a little bit more formal clothing, like the pixie dress that I wore to school one time that kind of reminded me of Thumbelina. I've heard some of my good friends claim there were girls in the bathroom saying that I was dressing like some goody girl, which I don't know what's wrong with that. I'm paraphrasing, of course. My friend did stick up for me, though, and let them know that she was my friend or that I was her friend. And if she caught them talking about me again, she was going to fuck them up. And they did stop. Well, at least while she was there. I'm sure when she left, they probably said something. I didn't ask her to do that, but I love you, Kiona. I love you so much. Thank you so much. And keep in mind, Kiona was a big girl, and she spoke of my scrawny ass. She was like, no. And these people were disgusting because they were already making fun of her because of how she looked. And she threw herself out there. I will never forget that for as long as I live because she was goth and considered an outcast, and she usually kept to herself before that. And this was a group of 4 popular girls, and of course she was made fun of because she was goth and because she was overweight, which I don't agree with. If someone is overweight, there is no reason for you to bully them, especially if it's a malicious way. Like, if you're friends and you guys are just joking around, you know, like my friends do that all the time to me, like, look at you, your skin and bones, and I'm like, look at you, you're so fluffy. But we're friends, so we're okay with that. One of our other friends used to call me, not me and Kiona, but another fat girl I was friends with, they used to call me, her hot dog and bun. Kind of funny, but anyway. But now granted, she could have probably taken all of them out herself, but she never spoke up for herself. She was an introvert like me. But she took that time to speak up for me when she heard those girls talking about me. The point is, the people setting those standards are women. Despite the thirst for men, it's women who are presenting themselves in a way to meet or exceed those expectations. Women always want to outcompete each other. Older women put on a ton of makeup so they can look younger. That's the whole point of makeup, to hide your flaws and to look younger so you can compete with people who more so look naturally like that. I've seen videos of people putting on makeup and they look dusty before they do it, and then you see them with the makeup after, and it looks like an actual IRL filter, a completely different person.
Why do I end up like this? 'Cause you're good.
That's why people call it witchcraft. Now, let's take this with a grain of salt because I do know that there are some content creators who do this and they specifically put makeup on. She changed her entire complexion and her arms to look black, whatever. Yeah, but they do this, but make themselves look worse by using makeup as well to make it more dramatic. But yes, I have seen people completely transform themselves. Now, you can't let your face touch anything because you'll be painting everything you brush past in a freaking gradient of flesh tones. But that is a work of art. And I think it's nice for people who aren't seen as conventionally or socially attractive to at least have that skill set to be able to make themselves feel more beautiful. But most women do that because they want attention, and it's mostly from dudes. So now you have these dudes who will pick women based on their beauty, and they're not necessarily putting down the other women, they're just picking the ones that they find more beautiful. The women who are not picked as much, even though they're pretty too, want to be picked by these men who are very attractive and are giving attention to those other women over there. So to compete, they have to make themselves look even prettier. But how do they do that? You see what I'm saying? And then the cycle continues. And please spare me the whole, I look pretty for myself. Then why don't you do it when you're home alone and nobody's with you? Let's stop lying. And then again, makeup can only cover so far. The only other thing that they can do is make themselves more sexy by showing more cleavage, wearing fewer clothes, or offering services. That's how it's always been. Men do the same thing too with other men by having more money and having better looks. That's why this looks maxing thing is getting out of freaking control. Men can get away with more though because they can continue having kids for as long as they can erect their trees, and if they're ugly, all they need is more resources, and that usually balances that out. For those of you who are new, I dated a guy who was gigantic. Like, he was like 6'5", or I think he was well over 6 feet. He was huge. And he was this goofy redneck dude, very charismatic, and that's the reason why I dated him. I personally thought he was hot, but all the other girls in my class looked at me like I was weird or blind. One girl called me Shallow Hal. I didn't get that until years later. The other friend, another blonde chick, she comes from money, and she legitimately asked me one day when she saw my boyfriend drop me off. Now he was like 11 years older than me, and I was, in the early stage of butterflies because I really, really liked him, and we were having fun together. And she legitimately asked me, why are you with him? Like, you're out of his league. And I said, I like him a lot. And I started talking about him and I was smiling, and she just, the entire time I was gushing about it. Every time we've talked about anything else, she's super into it. She's like smiling with me, engaging, but she had a disgusted look on her face the entire time I was gushing about him. I didn't really think of anything about it because we were already kind of sort of friends or associates. And she just gave me this look, like she was so confused and equally disgusted. Then she asked me to follow it up immediately. She didn't say anything about his personality or what I was talking about. She just asked me this question. Does he have money? I was naive, so I took that to mean if he had a job. So I was like, yeah. Then she replied, okay, that helps. I also didn't understand what this meant until way later. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's what she meant. It's okay as a guy to be completely ugly as long as you have money, which my boyfriend at the time didn't really have much of. He was a delivery truck driver, but still, it's not like I liked him for that. He was funny and charismatic. So I actually, weirdly enough, fell in love with his personality first. Anyway, that's just to say, that's how society has always operated for the most part. I get it. There's exceptions. Just look at the entertainment that women consume. You'll know that this is true because women consume entertainment, especially in the form of books and erotica. It's always a guy that's either super attractive and chiseled and a bad boy who can fight and protect her, or has some superpower, or a very rich guy, but the rich guy has to also be super hot, that all the women want him, but for some reason he only wants her. I swear to God, go on Wattpad, go on Webtoons, go on all the shoujo anime, go on the romance movies and stuff. It is exactly the same thing. You will never see any of those categories aimed at women with some ugly ass dude as the main character. And it sells well unless he changes into a handsome dude and gets a glow up from an ugly person. Am I wrong, women? Women in the comments, am I wrong? Tell the truth and shame the devil. Anyway, so to answer this person, the fictional standards expected by men are usually set by women. Men pick the prettiest women because that's just how biology works, because guess what? Women also pick the prettiest dudes. That's what usually happens. And so by you accusing men of liking women who are pretty, you're also accusing us women of liking guys that are pretty. Also, what is it with people thinking these are fictional standards? The woman in Cellar Blade, she literally looks like a normal person. As a matter of fact, she's chunkier in her hip area. I can understand if it's like she's like rail thin, but she has meat on her. Like what? Look, she's even got a little bit of fat right there. She literally looks like a normal person. I don't understand. And I could get it. Like if it were not a normal body type and she was a stick figure or something, why would that be a problem if men like that? It's a fantasy. Nobody blames women for liking gargoyles. Like, I liked a gargoyle. The gargoyle from Hunchback in Notre Dame. He had no feet. I had a huge crush on him. Yeah, I'm weird, but does it matter? It's fantasy.
So what? You're a nasty bitch. Who cares?
Women doing or destroying themselves has nothing to do with a video game character being sexy and has everything to do with them being broken or something having happened in their life to make them do those things. To put all that blame on men merely finding women attractive makes it sound like you're a serial killer who sees things through that perspective, because most men don't operate like that. These are also not fictional standards, because this is literally a body type that is normal. If you're someone with an ass, I mean, I wish I had that ass, but still, people have asses like that. People have asses unless you're an octopus that recently made your way to Earth and is wearing a human body and you've not gone past your front yard or something and seen, what an actual human being looks like. So he continues by saying, the problem is not the sexy design itself, except that it sucks compared to others. But hey, that's not that serious. Okay, it's your opinion. But the percentage of males who will only want this type of fictional body in reality. So now we're shaming people for their preferences? Even if that's the case, what is the issue? Everybody has a preference. There are dudes that like women that have really big chest pillows and those who like really small chest pillows. Not to mention you're body shaming women who have this body type. There are men and women, because remember, there are women who are interested in women too. Did you forget about those? But there are men and women who prefer women with a smaller waist or a certain body type or more muscular, toned, athletic body type. There are men and women that prefer tall women or short women. Some like long legs. Some people like nice feet. Some people like nice hands. Some people like people with button noses, and others like people with pancake noses. Other people desire people with faces that are shaped like hands. I don't know. People have preferences. It sounds like a you problem, dude. It sounds like you're projecting really hard, because I don't know anybody who plays a video game that will find the character attractive that doesn't already find people like that in real life attractive. You see what I mean? That's not how it works. Sex sells. And sometimes they will make characters that look like this based on people that actually look like this, which is what humans are attracted to in the first place. You're not complaining about all the action heroes and action movies with hot men in them. You can't market a game to attract someone into liking the main character if they don't already have that preference. So I'm just gonna pretend that you're some kind of cephalopod and you don't know how humanity really works. So research in evolutionary psychology, I'm quoting this, suggests that humans are predisposed to find certain physical traits attractive because they've historically been associated with health, fertility, and the ability to provide for or care for babies. These traits often manifest in what we claim are conventionally attractive body shapes for women and men. So if someone is super old and frail looking with pale looking skin that's grayish or blue, or someone is extremely big or extremely thin, our brain is naturally going to tell us, hey, I'm not really into that. And there's a reason, because it usually, not all the time, but 99% of the time, is an indication of poor health. If that's how people really felt though, and they were attracted to majority of those things, or people who look those ways, and they were completely into those types of bodies, everybody would be vying for those types of bodies or that aesthetic. There is a reason why people don't, usually the majority of people anyway, go after those specific physical traits. And it has nothing to do with them being mean, it's just what they like. Most gay guys are not going to target men who weigh 500 pounds. Most gay guys are going to thirst after dudes with washboard abs and, you know, easy on the eyes and have a nice butt. Women are gonna do the same for very attractive men. And if women are into women, they're gonna do the same thing for very attractive women. It doesn't mean people can't fall in love with people for their personality. Obviously, I'm the queen of that. But it also doesn't mean there's anything wrong with people finding attractive people naturally attractive. I don't know if this editor-in-chief is gay or straight, but I really wonder what his adult entertainment looks like, because if he's straight and the only thing he looks at are super hot women and he's not going to the supersized section and jacking off, then he's a freaking hypocrite. If he's gay and he would rather look at the profiles of university guys with washboard abs or soldier dudes that are shaped like Captain America with the gigantic bananas in America's ass rather than a 300-pound hairy dude with a micro Scotch bonnet, then he's a freaking hypocrite. I bet if you're enjoying that type of entertainment, you'd be very offended if someone told you that you were contributing to people hurting themselves IRL. Give me a break. It's like blaming spicy food for all the stomach aches that you have without considering all the other stuff you ate or your overall health. You know, like, oh my God, games are what's causing. Is it though? Is it? People like what they like. And it's not just about looks. Plus, most well-rounded and mentally stable people completely comprehend that real life isn't a game and that gaming isn't real life. But anyway, he continues by saying, obviously, we understand that this doesn't shock people who think that women are objects who must obey and be beaten. This design makes us sigh and roll our eyes, and we laugh at anyone who needs it, man or woman. Okay, first off, where did that come from? Bro, that escalated so far up. It just came out of nowhere, seemingly. Where are you getting this from? And what is your obsession with women being beaten, bro? This is why it feels like projection. Like, and thank you for trying to defend women while also telling us women what we should like. Anyway, just so people know, because some people might not know the symptoms of projection. They may just hear people throw that word out all the time and not know what the hell it means. So you can look it up here, but basically when someone unconsciously attributes their thoughts, feelings, or behaviors to another person, they're projecting. You've got defensiveness. If someone is angry or defensive in a way that doesn't match how you shared your concerns or feedback. Another example of projection is a cheating husband who starts accusing his wife of cheating because he's projecting his behavior because he's the one cheating. Here you can see what causes someone to project. Being a social species, humans need to look good to themselves and others. They highlight their positive traits and hide negative ones. It's a mean to hide your negative traits. When you project your negative traits onto others, the spotlight and blame shifts from you to them. They are the villain while you are the hero. It's also a denial of one's dark side. It's a defense mechanism of the ego. Admitting your flaws and negative traits hurts the ego. It could also be conscious or unconscious. Conscious projection is manipulation and is not very different from gaslighting. Unconscious projection usually stems from past trauma. That's interesting to know. I hope this person sees this because they might need help. Because this is not just something off the cuff. This is coming from a deep, dark place. Like you're in a room laughing about something completely random, and then one of your friends just gets really quiet and then just unleashes a tirade on the entire room and is like, that's why you guys don't understand what people like that go through. And we're like, bro, we're talking about sandwiches. Like, are you okay? So further down it says, overreaction, sign someone is projecting. If their anger and reaction are disproportionate to the situation, they're likely projecting onto you. It may seem like they're attacking you, but they're really only fighting with themselves. Holy shit. They're embroiled in their inner conflicts, desperately trying to hide their dark side. When they yell at you and say, why are you being mean? What they're really saying is, I don't want to accept that I'm mean. If their overreaction is recurring and follows the same pattern, you can almost be sure they're projecting. And then it goes into blaming, unjustly living in a distorted reality, playing the victim. Self-victimization is common in those who are projecting. Often it's not enough to unjustly accuse you. They also want you to feel guilty for a trait you don't have. So they go on and on about what you're not doing and how it affects them or other people. Does this sound familiar? Because bro came out of nowhere and is like, he keeps on harping on, you know, smacking up women and stuff like that. Like, I don't know why. Hit, kill, like the words that he's using, who must obey and be beat. Like, bro, he sounds like he's projecting hard. I swear to God, I don't know for certain because I don't know this person, but based on the way he's acting, it almost sounds like he does those things. Oh my God, women are not things to be beaten and then they need to obey. Nobody said they were. You're the only person out here out of everybody who's bringing that up, which is making us all question why. And you're saying that the design makes us roll our eyes and we laugh at anyone who needs it. Man, who is we? You're the editor-in-chief for a company that sells sexualized figurines of characters, but now you have a problem with people liking an attractive fictional woman that's shaped like the figurines that you're selling with their cleavage hanging out. Then it's his last comment that really gets me. The certainly clashing remark in the text, which targets the entire creative process, not necessarily a specific designer or the game director. This is obvious to anyone who knows a little French, only has its impact because a good portion of gamers have become too fragile due to being fed the patriarchy. Is it a 5-course meal? Like, what is he talking about? Senor, the only person who seems fragile is you because you're the only one making an issue out of something that people like, that they're going to give their money to so that these game developers can make money and you can make money by talking about those things. It has nothing to do with IRL because it is a video game world. This person needs to put down his pen and keyboard for a good minute. I think you need to literally go out and sniff some trees or something. And I'm not saying that to be cliche. I'm telling you, it would behoove you to do so. I live in a forest and I literally go out every day. Well, not every day because it's been a few days since I had an injury. But when I'm able to, I go out almost every day and touch a tree or smell the air and touch my grass. And just being out in nature and seeing nothing but nature, just away from everyone, just away from the sounds of cars and people. It really does something positive for your mentality. There's something to be said for our human being ancestors and us as Homo sapiens being in our natural habitat, which is out in nature before we domesticated ourselves and decided to put ourselves in cages. Wherever this perception of people is coming from, and men, I think it's coming from you being broken and having those very same perspectives. It's like the people who yell the loudest about trying to be allies to darker skinned people are the same ones calling them people of color, you know, which is just basically another way of saying colored people. It's the same ones who are telling people to remember that they're black and so they should vote a certain way or think a certain way. Because remember, you got dark skin or you're Mexican, so you need to do that and stay in the box that I feel like you fit in.
2% of taxes because he doesn't want to go from being 50 cents to 20 cents. And I had to remind him that he was a black person, so he can't vote for Donald Trump.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Huh? Another set.
Those are the kind of people like this that try to claim that they're helping, but in fact, you're actually being the very thing that you're accusing other people of being. And so let me get this straight. Again, because this part just gets me. Me as a woman, because you said this in your comment before, I mentioned this before in passing, but me as a woman, if I like seeing myself represented in a video game character that is beautiful or has my body type or that is pretty, and I like seeing that, you're laughing at me because me as a woman shouldn't have the right to do that or choose what I like because there's something wrong with me. How are you defending women and insulting them in the same freaking line of text? You're saying that this is an unrealistic fictional standard expected by men, but women like it too, so there's something wrong with us when you're talking about women? Pick a lane, bro. You sound mad ignorant. Seriously. Did your wife hold a spatula over your head and force you to write this comment? Do you even have one? I like how they try to come off like they're trying to defend people, but you're just being downright insulting. And you know that you're doing that, but you know what? It's okay because half of this is just projection. It is a video game. Whether we're praising a video game character for being pretty or making fun of it for being ugly or whatever the case is, the truth is it's literally a game. And if we're going to be expected to pay for it, we have a right to criticize it. Men and women. I personally don't see what the issue is. I don't feel threatened in the least that the video game character is wearing dominatrix clothing or that you could see her underwear sometime. My life has way more meaning than to allow a fictional video game character to put me in a state of complete hopelessness. Like, it's one thing to debate and critique it, which no one cares about that. But for me to take personal offense to the point where I'm attacking other people for liking it, that's issues. I'm not scared one bit that my male friends are gonna go out and play this game, you know? Like, they're gonna then look at me after they play it like I'm a piece of meat. They're gonna want to eat my flesh off my bones and all of a sudden, you know, kidnap me and dump me out in a forest to die in a million pieces. If that were the case and games really had the ability to do that, like freaking Death Note, then you're many years too late and that would have been a freaking epidemic already. I find this whole thing freaking hilarious, man. It would be funnier if it wasn't so pathetic.